Welcome to Black, Red, and Blue. I'm AJ, and I'm joined, as always, with Steve. Today, we started out with some really great news. Steve had sent me a text and basically said, hey, check this out kind of thing. And I was like, okay, let's see what's going on here. And we already know we had Twigger coming in, and now it looks like there's a really, really good chance that we're going to get this Hartzell guy. And when you start looking up his stats, man, he's like amazing. Like instantly, if he would come in, he would be our best player. Holy moly. Like I was like, okay, this is exciting. I'm proud. We're all for City, baby. And then we had this game. And talk about a complete buzz kill. What do we have? We had injuries. We had handballs or lack thereof. We had just lack of offensive action. We had whatever these subs were. I mean, geez, next time we're going to put Steve in there. Probably have XG that way.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know, Steve, what do you think?
Man, so this morning, I was flying back in from Philadelphia with my sons, and we went for like the New Balance Nationals outdoor running. My son was able to be on a team for that. We're flying in. I'm checking Facebook and Twitter, and it's like, we got this amazing news about this Hartzell guy. Who is he? Is he exciting? He sounds like he's going to be a good striker. We're playing this really down and out Dallas team that just fired their head coach because he's so bad, and they're not a good defensive team. Then what, like 15 minutes into the game, Celio goes down. It looks really bad, and we immediately know that something's wrong. And it's like the whole vibe of the match just kind of went. And by the time 100%. It was over, I messaged you completely uninspired. These guys didn't have a ton of energy out there. It didn't really seem great. Like the first half, how many times do we keep talking? Like this team is a team of two halves. First half is really great. Second half is blah. Like we saw a lot of great in balls to the final third in the first half that were almost shots. Klaus keeps going off his mark. It was just like, it was almost there first half. Then the second half, it just kind of fell apart. Like we went into the second half, like it was 1-0, could have been close. And then it's just like nothing happened. It was uninspired soccer the rest of the night. I'm not sinking into anything because it's sports. You and I are going to wake up tomorrow and we're going to be the same, you know? So like try not to get too out of balance, but it's like a team that we spend a lot of money on doing stuff doesn't really seem, the players just aren't clicking right now.
And man, like everybody's, and this is a really annoying, even some people who are more analytical on Twitter right now, or X or whatever it's called, whatever the young kids are calling it nowadays. But
the youth,
if people are like, yeah, fire Carnell. I'm like, are you guys kidding me? Are you kidding me? And my father brought up a point. He was like, well, you know, fans are pressuring them to bring in players, et cetera, et cetera. But one thing I want to caution people to remember is this is not like the Cardinals. This isn't like the Blues. Because the thing is for us to get the majority of players, especially off of contract, we have to wait until those leagues are in off season, which happens to be during that summer transfer window. We are off cycle. And that's one of the biggest issues that the MLS has when it comes to players, like getting them and signing them. So in other words, when was the last summer window? Well, guess what? It was in the midst of our first season. And at that point, we were riding high. We were like, yeah, we won 5 straight. We're going good. We're going into that summer. Honestly, I don't know if I wanted them to actually make a third DP signing because you had to see what you had. And then this off season for us was in the middle of the season for everybody else. So this is actually the first time that we're actually getting to make some big splashes here. And we've already made one. And then, of course, with this Hartzell guy, this may be a second one. So what I would say to fans is be patient. Like, they can't just make magic happen. You can't just go like snap your fingers and then oof, there's a magical striker. Everybody in the world, because soccer is a worldwide sport, is trying to get these players. Even with this Hartzell guy, it sounds like a French club is trying to snatch him up and steal him from us last minute. So that's all I'm saying. Like, we're not even through the second season yet. Usually you want to give coaches like 3 or 4 years before you start to panic. And we're not that bad. We're not like the Chicago Cubs, right? Like, we're not that pathetic that we need to panic right yet. Would you agree?
Well, and it's like, we're not even, yeah, I do agree. And I would say we're not even the MLS Chicago team to panic. Like, we're not that. It's second season. Don't forget, I want everyone to keep remembering, it's huge fees to get into the league. We had to build a stadium. The team had to build a stadium because wisely the voters of the St. Louis area weren't going to fund another stadium after what happened with the Rams. And so the team that started the club, they have all these fees and they have to pay for them. And so once we get the stadium, once they get the stadium paid off, then all the extra money can go into the salary. So like, yeah, there's a lot of things that have to happen. So second season in, I do think we are making moves to help the future. You know, the Geo money coming in is going to help. The sale from the other players we've had, they're helping. And one thing also, all these fans talking about fire the coach and why aren't we getting Marco Reese? Don't forget, especially with the players, the MLS owns every team. The MLS owns the team. Now there's private owners, but the MLS has the final say. So like this Marco Reus guy, he's going to the Galaxy. They're giving the Galaxy the chance to sign him first. So like, we're not going to be getting those A1 players. They're going to the A1 clubs. We're going to get as good of players as we can, but don't think that if, say, I don't know, Ronaldo comes over and he's like, I want to play in the MLS, that we're ever going to have one iota of a chance, because we're just not going to. Let's just be okay with this. So we're not going to get every great player. So like our amazing leader in the office, Lutz, he is going to be doing everything he can. I think that's happening. Now, what we're going to be talking about, the team not playing well, yeah, that is 100% true. But I don't see him missing on a lot of big players. I don't see him missing on these other players. I'm not seeing what players are we not signing that other teams are signing that are making huge impacts that before last year he had a chance to. So you may point to Chicho Arango over in RSL, that RSL signed him last year. We weren't in existence when he was signed, so we couldn't have gotten him. So like, what players are other teams, other clubs signing that are making a huge jump on? Like, I guess you can go with Paintsill. Yeah. Paintsill, we looked at Paintsill, but we never really had a chance because of the money. So think about that. Who are we missing? Yes, we want these players, but who are we missing out on? So far, I don't think we are yet.
And, you know, the thing is I think a lot of fans in St. Louis were a little hurt because most of us are also Cardinal fans. And unfortunately with the Cardinals, not to bring up a big wound here, and we are seeing a team who really is not augmenting their roster. So we automatically assume that City's going to do the same thing. And I don't think that's fair to make that assumption. And we're seeing that they actually are trying to make moves here. We tried to get Marco. It didn't happen. That's okay. Like you said, it's going to be hard to land those top-notch guys. But the Toyer guy is a good signing. And if we get this Hortel guy, that could be amazing signing, actually. I think that's going to be really, really good for us. So we have it. And, you know, like, let's give him a little credit.
So, like, the team is making these jumps and these chances. So, like, I don't know, man. So, like, last year Klaus was super. This year Klaus is not. Like, okay, it's time to replace him probably soon. Like, it probably sounds like what he's doing. Hope Klaus realizes that his time is up because we're bringing in these other players. So, like, yeah, I mean, the seat has to be high. It can't be hot for the head coach, because head coach can't make these guys do anymore. I still am okay with Carnell. Like, I listen to what he says when he's being interviewed, and he's making all the right things. He's not married to a system. He has said every single time a formation question comes up that they are very fluid. They may have like 100 different formations in an entire entire game, but like what he's doing looks like it's working. So,
Yeah, and let's kind of talk about this too, is that with this particular game here, there's some positives and some negatives. So the positives I'm kind of looking at is looking at the game stats based on FontMob. Our XG for today was 1.63 and Dallas was 1.29, but obviously the score was 2-0. And then our shots, 21 with 8 on target versus 10 and 4 for Dallas. I felt like we had a lot of chances, but it was just missing. And it just like we just couldn't get those finishes. Now, personally, the problem with XG is it's based on where you shoot in the field, and it takes a composite average of teams and basically says, okay, if you shoot from right here, that's worth so much XG. I don't think a lot of these attempts were nearly as good as we've seen in previous games, like during the Miami game, for instance. Yeah, they were shot from those, but we just didn't really have as much separation as we would like, or as much of an open window, which is definitely a problem. We've talked about before, and a lot of fans on Twitter is talking about this, that yeah, we have these great signings coming in, but the problem is we still have a full month of games left. We got the rest of June and July before these guys come in. We could get knocked out of the playoffs before then. I hate to say this, and don't hate me, fans, but at a minimum, we need to troll out. We have to at least like maintain some points. You can't. I know, right? It's like a cursed thing. We can't have these losses, and especially against teams like Dallas. Like this should have been like, come on, we went neck to neck with Miami, and then we had this. And what's worse is that the next game, which is, who do we have on Wednesday? Colorado, yeah. The problem is we're going to have kind of a forced rotation game anyways, which we were probably going to have. Now, the one thing is I will say with the Parker Yellow is that he's suspended for the next game. There was a good chance that he was going to be rotated and sitting anyways. So actually it is kind of a convenient timing for him to get his 5th yellow. But we have that. We have lost Celio, unfortunately. And if you guys didn't see, there's no doubt that he broke his tibia. And he's definitely going to be out for the season.
Yeah, take our word for it.
And if you're curious, it was actually when he planted his foot into the ground. It wasn't from the direct impact, at least when it completely fractured. With the rotation, the thing I'm worried about is because we don't have a lot of depth right now. Are we going to give up another game when we rotate? Because were you impressed with Thor today?
No.
What about Sam?
Ever? No.
What about
I wasn't
AZ?
Impressed with... No, I wasn't. And I wasn't impressed with Klein. I know all the fans are like, bring Johnny up. Yeah, that dude is great in gray on City 2. He really didn't do much. Like, I wasn't impressed with any of the subs tonight. I just wasn't. I mean, Thor had a rough spot because he was brought on from a very unfortunate injury that happened, but he's still a professional. So, no, I really wasn't.
Well, my gut tells me that Colorado probably is going to be a rotated game, and I think you're going to see some of these people play. And unfortunately, City just doesn't have the depth right now. We just don't. So anyways, the injuries hurt us. The other thing you kind of mentioned was with the frustration and lack of energy, especially at the end of the game. Like, for instance, energy at the end of the game. I don't know if you noticed this, but there was a couple times where I noticed that Sam wasn't pressing. So the thing is your forwards, especially late in the game when you're down, they have to press their team. That way they have to move the ball and give you a chance of getting the ball back. If you don't, they'll literally just sit there. It's kind of like in basketball when the guy dribbles in the corner and just kind of wastes time. You know what I mean? You actually have to press these guys. He wasn't. And I'm like, come on, man. Like, you're fighting for time. You're trying to become a starter. You're trying to show everybody why Carnell was wrong for suspending you and everything. And then you're lazy on the field. Come on.
Yeah.
And then Parker with that yellow, he was obviously completely frustrated. The ball was gone. He was like, yep, and just kind of pushed the guy. And then near the end of the game, it was a foul. Their player kind of kicked the ball away, and Parker just like shoved the guy. He should have gotten a yellow on that.
I thought for sure. I mean, for me, it's almost like a red, because like that was completely unsportsmanlike. There's no reason to do that. I think knowing that he's already suspended, he probably just figured we'll just do it. And it was a really cool moment, but not for the team. Not for the team. It's very frustrating.
And then even Leuven had to push too. I don't know if you saw that.
Yeah. But I would say we were looking for positives for this game. And I think Leuven, again, he's it. Like, we had pretty decent set pieces, and some of those passes in were almost good shots that were just missed. Some of that XG that we got were him just kind of booting the ball right to the goalie. So like, yeah, those very easy dribble shots that he felt like he has to take because Klaus isn't in position to take them, and there's no other striker around, so he's just taking some of those shots. And they were really low risk shots, but they were right there and they were right in the goal, so like probably helped our XG.
You kind of mentioned something that I was starting to think during this game. There was one point where Klaus was on the right side of the field, kind of going up towards the box, and then he just kind of kicked it to the middle, to the top of the box, and there was nobody there. One of the things that our team doesn't do is anticipate. So, for instance, what I mean by this is that anytime a player has a ball, what the job of every other player on that team is to move into places where you can kind of find the gaps to give that player a chance to pass to. Now, similarly, if somebody has a ball and you're in attacking third, what you need to do is you need to move in the spots, not only for passes, but also potential like crosses and stuff like that. So the problem is if you watch this back, Klaus kind of goes up there, and then before he kind of passes towards the middle, there's nobody moving in there,
no white
to
shirt.
Receive a cross, a pass, or anything. And it's like, what are we doing? Why do we not anticipate this stuff? And that's something that we're sorely missing. I don't know if this is something that they need to bring a consultant in to give some advice to these guys and maybe look at this and maybe have some like specialized training, or maybe it's a skill level. I don't know, to be honest.
Right. And I don't know, like the way it looked live when Klaus ran up on the side and he made that pass in, it almost was like, and with the fact that nobody else was around, like to Klaus, this is the play, this is what I'm doing, and he just did it. Like, I don't even know if he looked back to see if there was someone there. It just looked like he was running through a play, and he even looked like upset and angry that there was no one there to receive his pass. So like, was it Klaus just going through the motions? Was it the other players not coming up? But like, who messed that up?
If anybody's watched Miami and watched Messi a lot, what I'm talking about is exactly what Messi does. The thing is he doesn't look for players and then pass to them. What he does is he sees where a player is, knows where they should go, and then he passes to where they should be going, right? What Klaus did there is he passed to where players should be. They were not. That's why he got upset. The players should know to go up there and help support him, but they didn't for whatever reason. Maybe they thought he was going to choke it up and they were just getting defensive.
Oh boy.
I don't know.
And that would be something that the coaching needs. That's coaching. Clearly that's coaching. And what you're saying, like counseling or training, that comes from that side. That's not just playing at that point.
What did you think about the handball? I told my father, like right after they showed kind of the replay of it, I was like, this looks exactly like the RSL game. And tons of other people noticed that as well on Twitter as well. We know that for us, it was called against us in RSL. This time, it was not. What's your feeling on the handball rule, and were they wrong before and now this guy actually called it correctly, or did he call it wrong? Like, what's your feeling on it?
For me, tonight was called incorrectly. I don't know about any other match because those are already done in the books. Tonight was definitely not called correctly, and I don't even know if they went to VAR. I don't even know if he went over and saw it.
Yeah.
I don't remember him going over and looking at. I don't. That almost has to be like in the NFL. There are some plays that are automatically reviewed. The referees on the field they just gets taken out of their hand. And I really think a handball situation should be one of those moving forward for the next season, because had the referee just walked over and looked at it, he would have seen that was a handball. It was clearly on his wrist. Like I could see it on my very cheap Vizio television that it slapped his wrist. Like there's no doubt about it. And I know the VAR is in his head saying you need to check it, and the referee has the right to say no. The referee has the right at this moment to say, nah, I'm not checking it. They need to take that out of his hand. If we are going to be taken seriously, we need to have a bunch of other stuff, including taking this kind of stuff seriously. And it will take a lot of the frustration that we're showing right now out. So I was looking at FOTMob, our stats for the season. You want to know who our highest rated player has been this season by 10
I know.
0.10 percentage points? Yeah.
I believe it was Celio, right?
It is. Celio by far. So Celio's our highest rated player. He's gone. So our goal differentials. Right now we're at -4. At home this season, our goal differential is +2. On the road, -6.
Oof.
Our average possession, we're ranked 24th in the league, which is fine because we give up the ball a lot. Our goals per match, Inter Miami has 2.3 goals per match. They're number 1. We are number 16 at 1.4 goals per match. Our expected goals, we're number 13. Our shots on target, we're number 7. Our big chances missed, we're number 10 in the league. Now, one thing that we're really high on is accurate crosses per match. We're 5th in the league. So like we're making good accurate passes, and I guarantee you it's because of one person that we got back right now.
Yep.
We weren't doing this before he got back. But then the one that I really hate is our penalties awarded. We're 15th in the league. And it's just not great. Our very best player by rating is now gone for the season, if not longer than that. So like, what do we do? What do we do? Are we waiting for the Germans to come? Like, are the Germans going to come save us? Like, here come the Germans. What are we going to do here?
Man, I don't know what you can do. I mean,
right.
Well, we actually talked about this at our last episode a little bit about the formations and thought process. The thing is definition of insanity, right? Is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results, right? The thing is we've had this kind of formation, we've had the kind of players, we've had the kind of system, and it's just not working. It just isn't, right? Like we had the fluke game of Miami, but let's be honest, everybody was pepped up for Miami. I'm not going to count it. And you do have fluke games where sometimes you overperform and sometimes you underperform. The thing is as we said, for instance, before, is that the 4-2-3-1 is going to be a little bit more defensive than, like, let's say the 4-3-3, for instance. The thing is I think we need to either go back to the formation we had, which was the 4-4-2 diamond last year, which worked out decent, or we need to consider the 4-3-3 to get something a little bit more forward attacking. Because the thing is you can't physically win unless you score goals. At best, you tie 0-0. You have to score goals to win. What a crazy
concept. To score goals in soccer? What in the world?
Know. And tell me,
I thought 0-0 could do it.
We have Berkey, who is a great goalkeeper. We have a pretty darn good back line. I get the left back is a little iffy, but we actually have a pretty decent back line. We have decent defensive midfielders. We need help on offense. We don't need defensive formations. Okay, fine. If we give up and risk some goals, that's fine. But it just isn't doing it right now. We need to put pressure on the attacking third. I would rather risk the counter to our counter. So the counter, the anti-counter, whatever you want to call it.
Counter.
Yeah. I would rather risk that than just simply play a little defensive. We got to do something. Change it up. I mean, heck, so if you even want to sit Kloss, put Steve as striker. I don't care. Do something.
Yeah. I mean, it can't be worse. So, going back to like not scoring, Berkey had another pregame interview today. And several weeks ago, when they started this stretch of just draws, he had mentioned at the time that he wanted more intensity out of the strikers. And in the interview today before this game, I happen to listen to Y98. The pregame stuff is really nice. He actually stated that he feels at the end of each week, again, that he wants himself to feel great about his performance during training. And that's how it's going to go into the game. He actually said that he doesn't feel like the strikers and the offense is doing that. Again, he said we have to score more goals. So before this game even happened, we had our goalie calling out the offense. And then what do you see later in this game? You saw our goalie run to midfield and put up a shot. Our goalie, when he did that, I looked at my family and my friend that was here and I said, that was our goalie giving the rest of the team the big F you. That was insane. And he almost made that shot. And the Apple broadcast was like, you never see that. They were so shocked. And I guarantee you that was what the F are you guys doing? Like, why would he do that? He had no reason. The ball was just cleared. He ran up because they've done that before later in the game where it's almost like you're pulling the goalie where they have the goalie press up. But he didn't pass it. He took a bullet. And I know that was a message. What did you think when you saw that? That blew my mind.
Well, I was going to vote for Berkey for striker. I mean, the guy's got to have a good leg. I mean, he's kicking it. Maybe it was a message. Maybe it was some frustration too. Maybe he was thinking, hey, you guys suck. I'll just have to do it myself. Well, I guess that is a message.
Yes. I don't know. I didn't listen to the post-game interview, and I doubt if he's asked that he would even say like, yeah, I was angry at the team. You could see that. Why? That would be like a goalie in the NHL going to half court and taking a wrist shot. Like that's bananas that he did that. And I'm telling you, you can't convince me that wasn't a message. And he did it for the whole world to see. It's clear as day. And that was awesome. That was awesome to see.
And realistically, the chance of him scoring there, because the opposing goalie was pretty much on his line, I think the chance of him scoring, even if it was on frame, was low. Maybe it was that frustration / message that maybe he was or wasn't trying to score, but maybe it pushes him for the next game. And the other thing is sure, how many goals do you score when you don't shoot? Zero, right? Because the thing is you put it on net, weird things can happen, especially if you're somewhat close and the goalie just knocks it out of the way or doesn't have a clean catch, and you look for that rebound, kind of like hockey style, right? Things happen. That's why I kind of liked it.
If you look at FOTMAP, we led in pretty much every category tonight, but we got nothing out of it. So moral victory, I guess, but there is no moral victory in this. This was like I said, an uninspiring game. And I really do hope that this 4-2-3-1 takes a bath soon. I really think that maybe the 4-4-2 diamond. Let's not go as sporadic and different as like a 4-3-3. Let's go back to that. You gotta maybe at this point put Klaus and Sam side by side. Let them duke it out. We don't have Celio anymore, so we can't say Celio is going to be that guy. And just figure it out because it's not working. I mean, clearly these two on their own are not great strikers this year. So let's just make them work together. I mean, Colorado today would have been the easiest game of this 3-game series. Easiest game. Colorado is currently, they have 20. I think they have 25 points. They're not a cheap team this year. And then Atlanta coming in right now, they're struggling like we are, but we're not struggling near as bad. Tonight would have been the good moral kind of win, and we didn't get it. So now we've got Colorado coming in. So what are you going to do? And it's at home. The fans are going to be upset. You got to have a good show.
As we start to get to that wrapping point, like I don't want to end on such a negative note, but I am a little bit worried. And the reason why is because you had a game and the players know that this was a game to win. in a game that you could have taken that 3 points, even though you're away. And the other thing that they know is they know that Celio was one of your main weapons. And like you said, at least based on FOTMOB, the best player on your team. And then losing him, that's got to be a crushing blow. So 2 negative things. And the only thing I think that's a saving grace is, just as well as I do, that these players also look at the transfer news. They want to see this Hartel, whatever guy come here. They get excited about this too, because they want to win. They want to have that. If for some reason something happens with that trade, or the signing rather, I feel like this could be a pretty big collapse, especially after losing Celio, because you could start to lose the locker room. You could start to see the lazy play like what we saw in the last 10 minutes ish from the players.
Yeah.
We need a couple wins strung together here desperately, and we need some good news. Otherwise, this could start to spiral out of control. So,
yeah, no. So, I think that is a good way to wrap it up. Things can look up. Guess what? We're going to have down seasons. We're going to have down parts of the season. First half of last season felt great. Second half didn't feel so great. We still made it to the playoffs. The top 9 teams of both conferences make the playoffs. I do think that once transfer market says that we're pretty much a lock for this Hartel guy, I have to believe, from what I've seen in the past with them, that it's a pretty solid thing that it's about to happen. By the way, Nilsson went down. That hamstring, look, he was hobbling that bad. So he may be gone for a couple weeks.
Well, maybe even more. I mean,
yeah,
those hamstring injuries can sometimes go on for a couple months, Right. I really hope it's nothing like that, but we're going to have to see. So, I mean, we're going to see what happens on Wednesday. Hopefully on our Wednesday show, we're saying some really good things and some really positive things. And then when we go into Saturday's game, we're like, holy crap, we've won 2 in a row, yay. At a minimum, I want to see some draws.
Yeah. I wonder if we're going to see some F. Stan Kroenke signs. That will get our energy level up a little bit. We'll use some of that. We'll let some of that Jedi hate flow through us.
Well, we only have one thing we can do, and that's say as loudly as we can, all for City.
All for City. Yes, sir.
Until next week, guys. All right. Peace.